it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me again today. Wow, did you get information overload yesterday or was it just me? So much! Product shares, discounted items. Discounted items are live as of now. Well, they're live as of 7 o'clock last night, UK time. That would be 8 o'clock European time. Remember, I do not sell into Europe. I recruit in Europe. I have team in Europe, but I don't recruit in Europe. So, I have a project for you. 2 videos without projects. Now it's time for a project. Yay! And it's using items from the new, soon to be released, we're nearly there, annual catalogue. I still can't show you anything but the lovely cover, which has got 2 of the sweets in it. It's got the Come Sail Away, or Come Sailing, what are we calling it? We are calling it Come Sail Away and Magnolia Lane. But look at all of these tabs. These are pretty much all sweets. There is so much in here, and yet it's actually a slightly thinner catalogue than in previous years. Part of the reason was because it was getting very expensive to post, but also I think it was getting too complicated, to be honest. There's a bundle index in this one, which means if you want a bundle, it's there at the front. It's just perfect. So this is part of the, let me get the name right, Follow Your Art suite. For those of you who already have your catalogue, and if you shopped with me, you will have your catalogue by now. If you don't have your catalogue by now, and you've shopped with me in the last 12 months, please let me know, and I'll get another one out to you. But I did post them all out last week, and they mostly arrived before the weekend, even though they weren't second class. So this is called the Follow Your Art suite. We are using the Follow Your Art Designer Series paper, and then I'll show you what else we are using. There are some really cute things in this catalogue, like stamping up washi tape. I cannot tell you how excited I am by that. So, in fact, I've got a little gift. Look, it's a stamping up box and stamping up washi tape. Let's put it the right way. Is that cute or is that cute? And again, if you've got one of my catalogues, you will have seen all the washi tape that comes in that pack, because I used all of it. So, yes. Yay! Anyway, too much excitement for words. So this is the project I've made for you today. It's really just a, not quite throw it on the page project, but pretty close. I just thought it was really cute, and it helps show off some of the wonderful products we've got in this suite, including this sweet little paper clip. I mean, it's a die-cut paper clip, and it actually is a functioning paper clip. I couldn't use it as a paper clip because that meant hiding half of it, but it's a functioning paper clip. And I've got this lovely ribbon die that I must show you, and the little bottle, which I've done some masking, and yeah, love it. So let's get started. I'm going to change the colour up a little. I'm going to swap. This is Pacific Point and Calypso Coral. Both of them are colours in the suite, but I'm going to switch them around. So we're going to go Pacific Point, Calypso Coral. I have already cut my Designer Series paper. Do remember that if you want to get all of the Designer Series paper for less, you can opt to get one of my product shares. The paper one, well, all the details are on my blog, so go and have a look. They're under craft boxes and catalogue shares. I can't remember the price. I want to say not a lot of money. Bear with me and I will find that for you. It is for the paper share. You get 174 pieces of paper, all cut to 6x6, and it is just £40 delivered, as opposed to £166 plus postage, which is what you'd have to pay if you ordered it all from Stamping Up. In full packs. And then there's a ribbon share, which is just £28, and you get a quarter share of that as well. And again, a fantastic value. I would say that, but I mean it. So 5 and 5/8 by 3 and 7/8, 5.5 by 3 and 3/4. Don't worry about dimensions, they are on my blog post. I'm going to start by adhering, look at that, adhering my paper to my cardstock. So I'm going to use snail for that. We have had an update on the customs problems that we've been having in Europe. Basically, they're working on it. It's going to take quite a while, but they're working on it. They're trying to see if there's a way around it. But it's all to do with changes in legislation. We thought it was just to do with labelling, but it's more than that. So, and it's hitting everyone that's going into Germany. It's not just us. This is the die. Is that the cutest thing? It is just amazing. So this is silver foil, and I have put some of the now retiring self-adhesive paper on the back. So the adhesive sheet, because it does make it a little bit easier to stick it down. And I'm going slightly over the edge so that it ends up on the card base as well. But so easy to use, but as I say, you can actually use it as a proper working paper clip, which is just the cutest thing. Right, so that's that. Now we need some pens. So I've already got my Stamparatus set up. As ever, what I am tending to do is when I get dies that are going to be interesting, shall we say, to die cut after you've stamped, is I actually set up a template for the dies that I can then use in my Stamparatus. And then all you have to do is die cut plain cardstock pens, papers, whatever your thing is, and then you just lay them in the template, having lined your stamp up, which is what this is all about. I literally just put the stamp in the template, so you just line these up, and these cut in one go. So you've got one die that cuts all three. I'll show you the dies in a minute once I have stamped these, because there are some amazing dies, and it's not just these, there are some really amazing dies. So I'm inking up with basic grey, because the neutral, for want of a better word, in this suite is basic grey. I'm going a little off-piste on some of the colours, but these are just basic grey, and then just slide those out, ready to colour. Get rid of my Stamparatus. Now I need 6, but I have done some already. So let me show you the dies. We have got the pens. Actually, if I show you the dies and the stamps at the same time. So the pens are die cut, the reels of ribbon are die cut, this is die cut, the bottle is die cut, the paper clip, sorry, the paper bulldog clip is die cut. Then everything else isn't as such, but we've got this ribbon which I'm using in this project, buttons, so die cut strip of buttons, some lacy edge, little buttons that are embossed already, loads and loads, square buttons as well. It's just an amazing die set, and of course it is as a bundle. And these are the other. So these are little sequins. You can die cut your sequins, but they aren't, not die cut. You can stamp your sequins, but they are not die cut. So you'll see when you get your catalogue, if you haven't already got it, which ones you can die cut and which ones you can't. But it's such a lovely set. I didn't think I was going to like it. I'm going to be honest. I thought it was going to be too twee for words. Changed my mind. It's lovely. Right, now we don't have all of the colours of blends in that are in the suite, so I'm going a little bit, you know, off-piste, as I say, with them, but that's fine, it's allowed. So it's supposed to be Blushing Bride, but I'm using Light Flirty Flamingo. I don't want that, I want the other end, so I apologise that it's not quite the right colours, but as I say, I can't use a blend I don't have. You could use your Stampin' Right markers, but in that case I would be very careful that your stamped image is very, very, very dry first, because otherwise it could smudge. and you may actually want to use StazOn instead. But yeah, on the blends, the classic ink pads work really well. Now I need this bit to be, in inverted commas, black. This is the light black. I love the idea that there is a light black, because technically black is just the absence of colour. And I'm going to, while I've got it out, do the other marker as well. So that's that. On the subject of the other marker, I'm just checking which colours I've already used. I haven't used, this is Daffodil Delight, which I'm using in place of the crushed curry. So we'll just colour the cap with that. And a little stripe. And the two little stripes. And then obviously the nib. So the longest thing for this is probably going to be the use of dimensionals. But there we go. Right, Light Flirty Flamingo is the other one I'm going to use. Really don't know what this is in place of. Actually, it's Light Calypso Coral. So it's just Light Calypso Coral. I'm just kind of, putting some colour where I feel I can have some colour. There is no right or wrong place, other than obviously you want to have it on the end. And then I've got the light crumb cake for the pencil. I did have dark crumb cake on one of them, and I think it was a bit too dark. So that's those bits. I will pop those all to one side for the moment. And the next thing we will do is stamp our sentiment. I've got a scrap of basic grey and my Versamark ink. So I'm going to ink that up well. And always remember, I always keep those together. That way I don't forget. And then just easier when there isn't a camera where your head wants to be. Stamp. Bring in your embossing powder. Now I did silver previously. I'm going to try white on this one just to see how that goes. And I do like to dabble twice. And then just check that there are no stray bits, which there aren't on this one because I used my embossing buddy, which is always a plan. Right, now pop that on my cheese board and heat up the heat tool. Always make sure your heat tool is properly hot before you apply it. So there we go. And just watch heaven. And as soon as it starts going, you can move it on. That looks done. Let's just check that I did get it all. Yep, looks like it. If it's looking a bit matte, you possibly didn't get it all, or you've overheated it. Right, now I've got my tailored tag punch, and I'm going to just flag the end. And then I've got a piece of Calypso Coral card, and let's just add some adhesive to the back of that piece. Didn't need nearly that amount, but there we go. That's what I've done. Too late now. And then I'm going to abut the end, and then there's a tiny little, whoops, tiny weeny little overhang, so it's like it's matted, but not at this end. And then come in again, pull back a bit and punch, and then you've got it beautifully flagged. Now you could do that with scissors, perfectly reasonable to do that with scissors, but I have the tailored tag, so I'm going to use the tailored tag. Right, card base. So, let's fold that first. And grab my... There seem to be noises off. I think my husband may be doing some gardening, for which case, apologies. It may be noisy. Yeah, sounds like gardening. So, adhere one to t'other. And this is just half a sheet of A4. And then what we need to do is, oh, I need that still, is pop our sentiment on. Hold that in place. And now it is, well, there's a demonstrator in the US called Wendy Cranford. She's lovely. And she does what she calls story time. It's what I call just chat. But I think we're at that point. So, because I've got lots of dimensions to put on. So, I'm using 3 because these are very fine and I don't want them to get squished. Do remember, I'm saying we're doing story time and I'm not, or chat. Do remember that if you would like to send me a handmade card, I would be delighted to send one back. You never know, you might get one of these. My mailing address is on my website. It's under the Contact Me section, or About Me section, which is fairly easy to find. It's basically anywhere where there is my picture. On the subject of which, have you seen my new picture on my website? It's amazing. It makes me look, you know, almost human. Let me just say, not how I'm looking today. I was on a course recently and I met a lovely girl, and I can say girl because I'm probably old enough to be at least her mother, and she does photography. Very talented. She specialises in children and babies and ladies who are going to have children, but she brought in all her kit because it was a full week's course. She brought in all her kit and very kindly did headshots for us at a discounted rate. It's the first time I've had a professional headshot, and it's amazing, and it's even untouched. It's actually how I looked on that day. I wouldn't say I necessarily look like that often, but you know. So yes, when I'm definitely not going to look like that is this weekend. I am taking part in my first ever I Must Be Mad 5k run. I have yet to actually cover 5k on a run. The most I have done, and I wasn't just running, but the most I've done so far is just over 3.5 kilometres. So I may or may not complete the course, and I may or may not walk some of it. I think it is highly likely. It is fortunately a fun run / walk, so fingers crossed I will get to the end at all. Frankly, it would be amazing. It will be a miracle. But yes, so I'm doing that this Sunday. The forecast is for it to be quite warm, which may not be a good idea. It is actually easier to run if it is not too hot, because otherwise you get too hot. So yes, wish me luck, because I'll need it. I've got one more run to do between now and then, which I think will be the day you see this video. It may not be, but you never know. Let's go there. So yes, I think I'm mad. Right, okay. So all we've got to do now is die cut our ribbon strip and stamp on the inside of our card. So let's get that all ready. So that's a mat for the inside of the card. As I say, dimensions are on my website, and the post for that is immediately below. So it's all going to go in here. What I was meaning to do is open this. So this is what we're going to do now. I've cut a strip of paper that is, I will tell you this because I won't be putting it on my post. It's about 3/4 of an inch, about 2 centimetres. So the key with this die is really to decide which end you're going to start with. I'm going to start with that end, and you just line it up along the bottom of your piece of paper because that bit won't cut. So I'm just going to pop it onto my magnetic base plate and die cut that. You may want to use some washi tape just to make sure that it doesn't slip. I think I'm there all right. So let me show you what I have done so far. So this is what we've got so far, and it doesn't cut all the way to the end, which is exactly what I want. Then you can just, let's get rid of those, line up this end to this end, and about, oops, it's going to be about there, isn't it? And then just run it through again. Oops, I've gone again. There we are. The easiest bit to line up is, if you've cut it like I have so that it's the right length or right width, is the bottom, and then line up the, I'll show you in a minute. I'm concentrating, which is rare. Let's face it. Right, so what I've done is I've lined up this cut piece here, and this is where it curls anyway. So if you take it away, you've then got that same, you may need to just trim it down a little, because it's almost bound to not be completely straight. But that's easy enough to just cut straight. And then there is your ribbon. Just cut that one because we've got a pip. I've learnt now it's a pip. And then just cut that away and that away and that away. And that is our ribbon strip, which is too long because I've done it 6 inches long. So it is too long deliberately, so I can decide where I want it and then trim it down. And I think the answer is probably there. Now, what I am going to do, and I know I normally say don't use liquid glue on designer series paper, but what's that thing about there are exceptions to all rules? This is an exception to that rule. So I'm just going very slightly up from the base and then along the base with the tiniest amount of adhesive, and then again with the tiniest amount of adhesive. I'm just adding a little bit to each of the top bits, you know, the wave, and then I can pop this down, and because it's liquid adhesive I have a little bit of wiggle room to get that in place. There we go, and then I can trim it from the back. And it is perfect. So the only thing we've got to do now is stamp our little ink bottle refill. I've got a mask, which all I've done with that is taken a post-it, stamped and cut round, and you will see that I've left quite a lot of the stamped image on the post-it. That way you get a better stamp, and I will show you what I mean in a moment. Right, so basic grey ink, ink it up, stamp your first bottle, and I'm going to ink that up whilst I'm waiting for that to dry, and take my mask, and I'm lining this up with where the stamped image is, not to the edge of the bottle or the edge of the stamped piece, because that way, I don't know if you can see, so this is the edge of the bottle, so this is the bit that I've cut away, and it means that when I stamp my next one, when I remove my mask, it is perfect. So there's no overlap, but equally there's no gap. And that's because I left, in effect, a tiny little gap between the mask and the edge of the stamped image. What do I mean by that? Let's see if I can... right, so let's pop that there. And bring back my ink. So, if I stamp and then pop this right on the edge, it's not going to be perfect because it's trimmed to size, but if I pop that right on the edge and then stamp again, can you see there's a ghost? And that's because I put it right to the edge of the stamped image rather than lining it up. Hope that makes sense. Now I'm going to keep this because you only have to cut a mat once. I mean maybe 2 or 3 times because it will eventually wear out the stick, but there's no point in recutting it until you have to. Right, so all we've got to do now is stick the liner on the inside of the card and then we are done. So, there will be a few more projects before my 5k run, but fingers crossed. Keep me in your thoughts, because yes, Sunday morning, 11 o'clock UK time, I will be doing a silly thing. So, that's that one. Oh, I know what I've missed out. I've missed out the twine, which is from the accessories pack. So all I've got is both of the twines. Oh, I can't miss out the twine. And actually, I prefer to have my loose ends that side. So just an Auntie Betty bow with both of the twines in loops. And then pull those through. Don't lose your ends. And then just adjust that so that it's the size you want it. And I want it teeny tiny. And then trim your ends down. Can't forget this. Again, those of you who got my catalogue who are existing customers, you'll have seen the felt bits because I used those on your little gift. But there are also little paper clips and these little charms which say, made with love. So this is Pacific Point and Calypso Coral, because obviously it's meant to go with the suite. So I've just got a glue dot, which I am making smaller. Pop that on there, and then attach that to our card. Whoa! There we go. Phew, nearly missed that. So there you are. So it's actually a really easy card to put together. It's just some simple die cutting, simple colouring. Obviously, if you don't die cut, then you could fussy cut. They're not difficult shapes. But I hope you enjoyed that. You can see the difference between the silver and the white. I think I prefer the white, but it'd be really great to hear which you prefer. Do you prefer the one with the white embossing or the one with the silver embossing? If you like either of them, or indeed both of them, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't already subscribe, you can subscribe just by hitting the button. No email spamming going on unless you hit the notification button as well. But if you just subscribe, then when you go to YouTube, you'll see that there's a new video from me. I post a video most days, and indeed yesterday, apparently 3. I must be mad. It's been said before. Probably why I'm doing a fun run. I love the word fun and run. They don't really go together for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions or comments, leave them below, or you can send me an email by going over to my blog. All my contact details are there. And as I say, if you would like to receive a handmade card from me, I will very happily swap it for a handmade card from you. It doesn't have to be Stampin' Up products. Obviously, there are countries that I know people watch me. That's not English. There are people who watch me from countries where Stampin' Up is not available. I'm very happy to receive a handmade card using any product. Obviously, Stampin' Up is my preference, and I will send a handmade card to whoever wishes to send me one, whether you're in Australia, Japan, South Africa, wherever. I will very happily send you a handmade card in return for one from you, and my address is on my About Me section of my website. that's enough ramble for one day. Thank you very much indeed for putting up with me yet again, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye!